we got married when I was 23.
I had never had a girlfriend before Venus. My first girlfriend and my first kiss, and now my wife.
Sometimes he gets very weird snacks. I'll try them, and most of the time I'm like, so you're enjoying this? Like, this is so random.
Anyone who comes to my house needs to take off their shoes.
So initially when we got married, my mom was a little concerned.
My name is Jedediah Tam. I am 26 years old.
And I'm Venus Tam and I'm 25. I grew up in Germany, but I was born in South Africa. In my early childhood, I didn't really know much about being South African aside from my mom being South African. So I was mostly like German speaking, like we spoke German at home, went to like a German school. Your whole community is also German. And then when you come back to South Africa, it was a bit of a culture shock. I think I was also like quite shy. So I wasn't like the most outgoing kind of kid. And yeah, I did struggle a little bit to like kind of integrate into like South African culture in the South African school.
I was born and raised in Hong Kong. And first 7 years of my life, I was in Hong Kong. Spoke Cantonese, knew about English, but only through movies and cartoons and everything. So when we finally moved to South Africa when I was 7 years old, it was also a very big culture shock. My parents said the first thing I complained about was the doorknobs in the toilets. It's like, oh, they're not like the ones we have in Hong Kong. But growing up, it was definitely a challenge to make friends. Having to make English my home language all of a sudden was a challenge.
So we met in university in 2019. I think I was in first year and he was in second year, but we were both doing the first year of the same degree. And then I think for the first 6 months, we didn't really like talk to each other, even though like our class was like really small. There was like 20 people in our class. And then eventually I kind of invited him to Oktoberfest with our friend group, which reluctantly he came still. He didn't really want to at first. And ever since then, like we've kind of been in the same friend group for like years after that.
I had taken a bridging course with the year before that. So it was my second year in university, but she was fresh out of high school. So already it was kind of hard for me to relate to people younger than myself.
By a year.
But other than that, again, I am a very shy person. So I kind of just did keep to myself. Didn't really make too many friends. If anything, it was still difficult for me. So it was the perfect opportunity when Venus and her friends invited me to join them. That was the day where we became friends, I would say. It was a matter of not really anything common interest, not really anything shared, but it was just us together having a good time, getting to know each other. And even then, I think we were still just friends who belonged to the same friend group. I wouldn't say Venus and I really hit it off the most or were the closest to each other.
For the first couple of years, like I did kind of have a crush on him, but like at the time it just like wasn't really working out. And you know when you like throw hints at a person and then they just keep thinking, oh, she's just a nice person, you know, she's so nice.
What a good friend.
Yeah. So there's a few years of just like slightly being like, hey, and he's just like not really like seeing it. But I think it helped that we started dating towards the end of our degree instead of at the beginning, because we were in the same friend group, and it was actually really nice to just have like a proper foundation and just really get to know each other as friends first.
I definitely must have suppressed my ability to notice the hints that she was throwing at me. It wasn't until fourth year, the last year of our degree, when we had an opportunity to spend more quality time together. That was the year where I struggled a bit with my studies. I failed one of my modules from my third year and I needed help studying. And thankfully, I have someone who's like a great student in my close friend group. That was one of the first time I asked her for help, kind of to spend just one-on-one time with each other. And I think that was some kind of seed that eventually grew into more?
I was kind of always attracted to him. So when we finally did start dating, it kind of felt more natural for us. Or well, for me anyways. Like, I was like, okay, finally, you know.
My first impression of Venus was definitely what a quiet and friendly girl, you know, who invites people to events, to parties, but herself doesn't really talk that much. That was quite the questionable what's happening in her head kind of situation. So the one time that we did sit down and I got to hear what are her thoughts on the situation, I was actually quite impressed based on what she told me she was thinking about. To be fair, granted, it was us talking about complaining about something together, and I was realizing, wow, you had the same complaints as me. This woman knows what to consider in life.
We started introducing friends and family probably in the first month. Because we're in the same friend group already, it wasn't too hard to like do that. And he had already met some of my other friends that weren't in the same friend group. So I just told him like, yeah, no, we started dating. And then it's like, okay, cool, that's great. Family as well. Like my mom was vouching for me to start dating him even before we did actually start dating. She's like, oh, what about that Asian kid? Like, why don't you try? I was like, no, it's fine. Eventually, maybe. So she was very excited when I finally told her like, oh, we did start dating. And this was like in the first week.
So when I introduced her to my parents as my girlfriend, she was super nervous. She was so worried that she couldn't live up to that expectation that my parents had, which I, at some point in my life, also had. But no, my parents were very normal people. The right way to be parents. They're very accepting of the decision I made. Also very open to kind of introduce her to what I know, what our family is like, what our world is.
We flew to Hong Kong, I think, was it a month and a half in? Like we started dating in like October, and already around December, January time, I was already meeting his extended family overseas.
They all took a liking to her because, you know, she's so different, you know, she's not from Hong Kong. And also, of course, I lived in South Africa my whole life. They were very keen to see what I've gathered while I was there overseas. So they were very happy for me as well. I definitely felt very comfortable bringing her to my family because I don't think I had any bad relationship with my family either.
My mom is a very kind of open person. So when she found out that my boyfriend at the time wanted to like take me on a flight, she just said, oh, go. Like, I don't know why you're even asking me. Like, this sounds great. I was like, okay, cool then. So yeah, it literally happened within an hour of him asking, do you want to come? She also agreed then that I can just go.
Friends was surprisingly where we got the most pushback from. When we announced our relationship, they think, how could you do this to our friend group? You know, did you not consider the consequences of your actions? Well, they didn't say that, of course. I'm dramatizing. Sorry, yes. But when it comes to family, I think it was also very straightforward because I think our intentions were in the right place. I think both of us kind of already went with the mindset of we're here to stay. We're here for the long run. We're here to get married. I had never had a girlfriend before Venus. She was my first girlfriend. My first girlfriend and my first kiss, and now my wife. So it was kind of a big deal for me in my head, like, I gotta do this right, whatever it takes. But not to an extent of kind of diminishing myself in any way. I think I just knew that this is something important that I need to work towards. And having that kind of extra pressure from our friends who knows both of us, who wouldn't want us to now be on bad terms just because we broke up. I wouldn't say that is the reason that we got married so quickly. That was definitely a motivation on us to work harder with each other. And whenever there was an issue that came up, instead of just brushing it aside and saying, this is how she is, I can't change a thing about her. I think it became a drive for me to find out where I can improve, find out where my problems are. find out where we have disagreed, and so that we can move the next step in sync with each other.
I saw myself marrying outside of my race. I think it's because
You're not even the
parents
same.
are like interracial too, so I don't think there was ever like a boundary in terms of racial like dating in a sense. So I feel like yeah, I never really had like a specific type either. It was more just like personality based, and I was like, you know what? Technically, everyone is kind of interracial to me anyways, unless I find somebody who has the exact same mix.
Growing up, I definitely thought that, wouldn't it be easier for me if it was, some girl from Hong Kong who spoke the same language as me, the same likes and dislikes as me. It would be so much easier, right? And then I came to South Africa and I saw, wow, it looks like there's a lot of white girls here. Maybe that's the expectation I should go for. And then another time I overheard my grandpa telling me that he wants, great-grandchildren. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to go back to China again, continue the lineage that my grandpa started. But I think by the time I asked Venus out, it wasn't really just about the culture or the race. I mean, sure, there's a lot of afterthoughts on like, oh, actually, this culture has these interesting things or those interesting things. But I think at the time when I asked out Venus, I saw her for what she presented to me. I don't think I saw deep down and tried to uncover what was hidden deep in her cultural background. But when I told my parents that I am dating, and I announced to my parents that I'm dating this mixed race girl from my class, I was fully anticipating some kind of pushback. I was fully expecting like, oh, are you sure about this? Like, aren't you sure you're going to be too different about her family, what they will think of you or what they want to do instead? But I was very surprised at how supportive both my parents were. They were very encouraging. They found out that she's Christian, and that was kind of the selling point for them, I think. I think that was the part that helped cross all barriers, because culture definitely puts us in a box from time to time where we are expected to do things a certain way. So for us to have a common understanding, not just in culture, but in belief, that helped us to kind of break a lot of boundaries too.
Our major cultural differences were definitely like food and language, but I think that was more just an opportunity for us to like explore that. It wasn't really a challenge for us to kind of delve into it. It's like, okay, cool, let me try what you're having, and then I'll introduce him to like German food or South African food and vice versa. And then there's even meals that he enjoys that are South African that I don't. So it's actually really nice to like kind of explore that. I think the biggest difference that was like more of a cultural challenge for us was definitely like church. I think because my mom is Black, we went to like very South African churches, and it was always like very, not loud, but like very energetic and high, a lot of passion in it, and just like very much engaged and like driven by music and joy and all of that stuff. And when I first went to church with him, it was more very like quiet and meditative, and I was just like not really used to that, because I know Germans do church the same way, but we never went to a German church. So when I first went to his, I was like, are you sure this is like proper church? Like, I don't know, everyone kind of seems too quiet for me. Like, I'm so used to people just like being very like out there when they go to church.
So that was definitely a challenge, but not in the sense that it's something that I now need to convince her to do otherwise. It was more a challenge for myself to understand what's happening. I think that helped me to become a better Christian. Other than church, the other biggest challenge will be lifestyle, I'd say. Lifestyle differences, like taking your shoes off when you enter a house, is a must. Anyone who comes to my house needs to take off their shoes. Leave your shoes at the door. So things like that, where it's very lifestyle oriented. those will be a lot of just from time to time getting used to, hey, remember to please do this because I asked you many, many times. And then if I ask too many times, then we'll start fighting. And then those are the challenges that we have to kind of work through.
Yeah.
But it's all with the good intentions. It's never about who's right and wrong. It feels that way at the moment, but we all want the best for each other too.
Yeah, food in general was just like the most exciting part for me to like learn about him and his culture. Yeah.
One of the most excited moments that she had was when she wanted me to really try out food from her culture. I think it's also that she herself doesn't get to eat it that often either because she's raised in South Africa. German food is hard to come by when you're here. So she would go all the trouble to bring me to a German bakery and a butchery so I can try out their bread, their sausages. And I have to agree, German people know what they're doing when it comes to bread and sausage. In terms of the culture itself, I really appreciate the South African side of her being more open and friendly. Because if you know anything about German people and you know anything about Hong Kong people, we keep to ourselves.
When you took me to Hong Kong the first time, we had such a great time, and most of it was really just going out to eat. Like, that was most of the travel, and it was probably one of my favorite experiences in life in general, just like being able to properly go into somebody's cultures. Because I know sometimes when you travel, you go and sightsee, but then you're not really talking to the local people and really like eating their cultural, like properly cultural food. So at least when you go with someone who is actually from there, it kind of opens your eyes to like a whole other world of just not just traveling there and seeing what's there and like trying things but you don't really know what things are, but more having somebody like, oh, you should try this, you should eat this. And his dad used to get so excited to like introduce me to new foods, and it's also one of my favorite memories of his dad.
It's very easy for me to remember that Venus is a different race. Every day I wake up, I turn my head, and I feel a lot of fluffy hair on my face. That is such a huge contrast to Asian people hair, you know.
My reminders that we come from different cultures is sometimes he gets very weird snacks. And like, I'll try them, and most of the time I'm like, so you're enjoying this? Like, this is so random. I didn't even know some people like eat this kind of stuff. And I think it also is a part of me that because I don't really eat like very South African traditional food like tripe, like there is specific snacks that he has that is like in a very traditional kind of sense, and I didn't grow up with that food as much. So to me it kind of just feels like wild, like, oh, you bought like little squids like in a packet and why they taste like rubbery and stuff, and he's like full on enjoying them.
When we take photos from time to time, people will say, oh, are you guys siblings? And we'll kind of low-key feel, really, we're not that alike. So the fact that I'm a little bit of a tanned Asian, a tanned Hong Kong person, makes it easier for us to try and just like, blend in with each other a little bit. But from time to time, there'll be differences, like where she has to slap her head to scratch her head or something like that, and the amount of hair products that she has to use. Those are great reminders from time to time.
We got married when I was 23. And I think at the time, because, you know, we're always going to head towards marriage, it didn't seem like a big deal to me. It's like, okay, cool, you know, this feels right. But you do have a lot of people that will like ask you, like, are you sure? Like, you're still quite young. Like, and I agree, like 23 is quite young to get
For our
married.
generation.
Yeah, especially for our generation as well. But I think it mostly stems from a worry or concern of other people that when you get married young, you tend to kind of lose yourself in the marriage, especially as a woman. Like, it's very easy for you to kind of just like now go from identifying yourself as an individual to like, okay, now you're somebody's wife. And I think it kind of was more of a reminder to me, like, okay, cool, you're getting married, but that doesn't now mean you must lose yourself. It wasn't a thing of doubting if I got married too young or not. It was more the thing of getting into a mindset of like, okay, how do I navigate life being a young married woman while still keeping my own identity?
I was 24 years old when we got married. When we signed the papers, our wedding happened a year after that. The first month of us being married, I had a lot of thoughts running through my head. I don't know, can I categorize them as my thoughts or just thoughts that just come my way? But there definitely was a lot of questioning of, did you really think it through? It's not even about, is she the right pick? It's more like, did I actually think through what I'm doing? Did I do this on a whim, or did I do this based on because I'm too ignorant to realize the bigger picture in life? And there was many times I think I kind of ran in circles. I would say, no, you did think it through. And then like, no, you didn't. And then you think it through. And no, you didn't.
So initially when we got married, my mom was a little concerned. I think it was more just from a place of not expecting me to get married that young, which is ironic because she also got married at like 23, 24. But I think, yeah, nobody kind of saw it coming that I would get married that young. So I think it was more of a, okay, are you like 100% sure like this is what you want to do? So that was her biggest concern, mostly when it comes to like our relationship.
Surprisingly, there was not any pushback from my families. I think they definitely were very cautious for me, for my sake. They definitely want me to make the right decisions as well. So I really appreciate that their concerns didn't come out of telling me what not to do. Their concerns came out of trying to help me to get to where I need to be.
In terms of online, like social media engagement and comments that we received from people, the weirdest ones were either like little tiny arguments in the comment section. So we've had an argument where people were like arguing over how we like wrote out the word magwinya. And people were like, no, it's amagwinya. And others were like, it's magwinya. She doesn't know how to say it right. So there was that. The other one was people arguing about whether I'm colored or mixed race, which was also very wild to me because I stated in the comments like, hey, technically I'm kind of both because, you know, in South Africa, you're colored when you have like mixed cultural heritage. But at the same time, I'm not really part of the colored culture like that. So it's really not that deep.
The funniest comments that I remember seeing was a question asking, bro, how did you pull that? It's like, you know, how did you manage to go to South Africa and then find the good looking girls there? Like, how did you manage to do that as a Chinese guy, you know?
The one con of getting married young would be kind of going into it with a little bit of ignorance. And I don't think that's intentional or anything like that, but more of a thing of like, you don't have as much like life experience as, let's say, a person in their late 20s who's getting married. So I think once you go into it, there's a lot of new things that you encounter that you didn't really expect to encounter, or you don't really know exactly how to navigate yet because maybe you don't have enough knowledge on it.
The cons of marrying so young is the same as doing anything else while you're young. It's just that you're not too experienced. There's still many parts about yourself that you're not sure or haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
And as much as that is a con, I think that's an opportunity for you to shape who you are the best way for the other person.
The pros have definitely been experiencing life together from such a young age. I found my person so soon, which means I have like, or I hopefully have like more years of life to spend and enjoy with them.
The pros of getting married young is definitely the fact that we have more time together. More time together overall, and also more time together when we both have a lot of energy. We are at that time in our life where we are very capable and alive and healthy. So we have a lot of upside to just being able to go to a lot of places, being able to worry about a lot less, Not to say that we don't worry. We're starting to figure out the things that we need to worry about as we progress in our marriage.
I love the most about my partner. I think just how genuine and sweet he is. It's something that like I'll not congratulate him, but like praise him for every single day. I'm like, you are actually such a nice person. Something I love the least about him is, I would say he leaves his socks everywhere. It's like one of those things that I'm like, why don't you just pick up the socks? It's not that hard. But then like he's like, no, I'm still gonna go out because, you know, like they take off their shoes before entering the house. So like he'll go as far as to take off the socks too. But then like when he leaves the house again, he's not gonna go get a new pair of socks. And then he'll like ask me like, oh, where did you put the socks? And I'm like, I put them away because you just threw them off. And he's like, no, I still needed the socks to leave.
What I like the least about my partner is that she takes away my socks. I think it's not just a matter of socks, right? I think there's definitely been a lot of lifestyle kind of mandates that we kind of try to set up for ourselves. And it definitely was a lot just to getting used to the way that she considered what's tidy and clean and what I consider as tidy and clean. And the way how she would pack away everything's out of sight. But anytime I need something, I don't know where it is. Where did you pack it away?
Yeah.
Like, where did you put it? I put it right there because I know where it is. But you decide to, tidy up the place, make it look empty. And I don't know where my stuff is. Another thing, I'm going to go hammer on this. Another thing I like the least about my partner is definitely her tardiness. But punctuality is something that bothers me a lot. It hurts me to my core. It makes me feel like I'm not doing good enough for the people I promise I'll be there on that time. And the funnier part is I would get there at the designated time of like, baby, we're late. And we get there and the people we're meeting up with are also late. So I guess it works out in her favor.
Our major challenge has definitely been church. And I think it's something that, because we're both Christian, I never thought it would be an issue. So I think it's something that maybe a lot of people in church also go through when they marry outside of their church. Because you kind of have this misconception of like, oh, we're both Christians, so this is going to work out fine. Until you actually go and attend each other's churches and you just see like how different they are.
I think for me, the biggest challenge within that was definitely how I prefer a more interpersonal worship. So for myself growing up at church, we worship together with other people, but not just that we are in the same space, but we also hear each other's prayers. We respond based on what each other's prayers reveal to us in that moment about that worship. And I actually have really grew up in that and take a lot from that, and it's really become such a core part of my belief. So when time comes that Venus worships with me and she doesn't want me to hear her prayers, I just felt like, wait, what? What do you mean you don't want me to hear your dialogue with God? And that was a big thing for me to realize, is that from her side, it is her dialogue with God that she wants to keep for herself. And it might be that at the time where I presented it to her, I wasn't good enough to kind of receive that. Maybe I wasn't making a good enough environment for her to kind of open herself up in that way. So let me hear what is concerning her, what is so important to her that she wants to tell God about it. And that is something that I am still working to this day, trying to open her up. Not to say like, show me what's inside. But if it matters to both of us this much, I do think this is something that we should pursue together. Yeah. And that pursuing together has been quite the challenge.
My advice for other interracial couples who have like pushback from families is not to let it get to you. I think learning from my mom's stories, she was in an interracial relationship in the early 2000s, late 90s. And even back then, there was a lot of pushback, and most of it stems from a lot of ignorance or racism, because there isn't any real reason for you to not support an interracial relationship if the reason is only based on, oh, he's black or he's Chinese or whatever. Like, you really have to sit down and think to yourself, like, is this something or someone you're willing to lose over the fact that some of your family members or friends don't like him simply because he's a different race? Like, I don't think it's ever worth it. And in terms of getting married young, as I said, like, it is more a thing of like, marry the right person. So if people are having doubts about you marrying young or telling you not to do it, it would help to kind of look at your own relationship and actually sit down, okay, why am I getting married? And remove the young part. Like, why are you actually getting married? Doesn't matter how old you are right now. Like, are the reasons you're getting married like actually valid and good for you to like take that next step? And also to sit down with your family members. I think in terms of getting married young, some of the concerns are more on the genuine side, and sometimes they just don't really understand or are just genuinely concerned about you.
Firstly, these people care about you. That's probably why they have such a strong opinion. And as much as they are trying to do what's best for you, at the end of the day, I think you have the most clear picture about what you're trying to do. So on your end as an interracial couple, you should be very honest about what you're doing and use what you're honest about to face your families and your culture. Things are changing very quickly. And the fact that interracial marriage is now popularized or is things that's very normal to people is great to see. To see that people from such different backgrounds can still love one another.